I'm going to try and squeeze in one more video today when I'm not really feeling very well. But I think the reason I want to do this is because it's one of the most important videos I've ever done for any property buyers, but especially first-time buyers. And this idea came to me because I did a post on X this morning, which I've linked to in the description below the video, so you can go read it for yourself. There's some details in there. But here we go. If you are buying a home, the way to avoid being exploited and having a terrible experience is to be in control of the process. Now, you might say, hang on, Charlie, I'm a first-time buyer. I know nothing about the process. How could I possibly be in control of it? That is the whole point of this video. If you follow these steps, they're not easy, but they are doable by anybody, even if you are uninitiated. You follow these steps and you will be in control of your transaction, or much more control than the average buyer is. So I want to explain something to you first about what people normally do, okay? So I wrote in this tweet, the most dangerous aspect of being an uninitiated first-time buyer is how easily we can be exploited. First-time buyers are cannon fodder for feckless estate agents, mortgage brokers, and conveyancing call centres. You think you've done your research, but all that research you've done is just a carefully laid trap that only the wisest people avoid. You know, you go online, you search around, you do everything you read about advice on buying homes is paid for by someone selling stuff like mortgages or insurance or conveyancing or surveyors or estate agency, okay? And it's all designed to suck you into their trap. It is a time-consuming process to avoid these traps, but it's much less time-consuming than if you fall into the trap. So this is what typically first-time buyers will do. And if you're watching this, this will probably sound familiar. You think, right, okay, I'm gonna buy a house. Let's start by looking on the website, see what's out there. And you go and look at all the national property websites and get a feel for the homes that are on the market that you think you might want to buy. And the first thing you're going to think is, God, they feel really, really expensive. And that's the first trap, by the way, is that they aren't as expensive as they look. Then you might go and read up on the newspapers and all the news websites about what's happening in the housing market. And that's the second trap, because as I've shown extensively in my other videos, I'm not saying that it is or that it isn't intentional, but I'm just telling you that because most of the media about the housing market is fed to journalists by PR people from the moving industry, there is an underlying tone of vested interest guff and bias and leaning one way and everything's okay and house prices always go up narrative in all the media that you read. Right now, we're October 2023, and the media is massively underreporting the scale of challenges facing the housing market because they're getting all their media from house price indices and that kind of stuff, all their data from there. So that's what everyone else does, right? You look at property websites, you read the media, you read up on advice, and you'll find the advice is conflicting and confusing. And then you'll ask your mate who's an estate agent, and whenever you ask a mate who's an estate agent, they always tell you what's happening. Just believe me, they don't know what's happening in the wider market. They might know what's happening a bit in their precise market. And if they're very experienced and they're a business owner rather than an employee, they may also have some insight. So I'm not saying don't listen to estate agents, but don't just ask any old estate agent, right? It's got to be a good one. And this is the trap that once you take the first step into it, you're suckered into the whole trap, is that you will then make your first contact about viewing a property with an estate agent because you think that's the first thing you can do, right? You're on a property website, you put your details in, they say inquire about this property, and a lot of you will have done that and not heard anything back, and there's a reason for that I'll come on to later. But sometimes you'll hear back and then you'll get a phone call or you'll be registered. And the thing that you need to know to understand why this is a trap is that most, not all, but nearly all of especially the larger and largest estate agents make a large amount of their money from selling your details on to financial services providers, mortgage brokers, insurance providers, conveyancing services, surveyors, and all that kind of stuff. And they make so much of their money from that, whether they sell you a house or not, that you will be almost eaten up into their system, and you'll just be on a conveyor belt. And you've stepped onto it, and that's it. You'll swept along, you'll start getting their emails, you'll start getting their phone calls, And from that point on, you are not in control of what happens to you. So what should you do to avoid that nightmare of being sucked into being manipulated by people who, I'm not necessarily saying that they're all baddies out to exploit you, but they're all out to do best for themselves and their businesses. And that'll come first from most estate agents. And that's why you must be in control of it. So this is what you should do if you want to buy a home or a property, not just first time buyer, if you're a second time buyer as well. Hopefully this will help you avoid the traps if you fell into them the first time. Number one, before you contact any estate agent to go and view a property, and before you even read up in the media or look at properties online, I mean, everyone looks at properties online, I get that. But the first positive action, if you're serious about buying a house, is to go and find an independent whole of market mortgage broker. Not only to get a quote about what a mortgage will cost you, but to find out exactly what your personal circumstances mean you can borrow. And it's different and unique for everyone because the circumstances, as you will discover when you go through the full application process, depend on things like your age, your employment type, whether you get bonus or not, whether you're self-employed or not, how long you've been there, how old you are, when you're going to retire, what your partner does, what industry you're in, whether you're in the public sector or the private sector. All of these things change it. What savings you have, what deposit you've got, what likelihood you have of being able to pay down your mortgage early, how soon you need to move. All of these factors will affect what is the best mortgage product for you personally. And only a trustworthy, independent mortgage broker who can look at the entire product of thousands of mortgage products can tell you impartially what your budget is likely to be. And you'll get different answers from different people. But the most important thing is to try and find the one that's the most realistic. Okay, you shouldn't be looking to see what's the maximum I can borrow. You should be looking to see what is the most I can borrow and not overextend myself. And a really good independent mortgage broker will answer that for you. Okay, so number one, talk to a mortgage broker. And there are lots of reasons for doing this. It's in your own interest first and foremost. But secondly, when you do start going to view properties and you start registering with agents, you will be able to say to them, I already have an independent mortgage broker and I already have a mortgage in principle. This does two things. First of all, it allows you to fend off the desperate attempts to suck you into their financial services division. And secondly, it will rank you as a more qualified and more proceedable buyer than most, like 9 out of 10 other buyers who register. Okay, so you will automatically sort of jump to the front of the queue as a more qualified buyer than other buyers. And this is the same, even if you're a second time buyer and you're selling and buying. If you've been to your mortgage broker first and you know exactly what you can borrow, you're going to be in a stronger position to move. Okay, so step one, contact an independent whole of market broker. Step two, get your mortgage decision in principle. All right. And make sure you're armed with that before you start asking to view properties. There's one more thing you need to do. Step number 3, before you start going to view properties, and that is this. You need to have a conveyancing firm ready. And this is, again, not just about being more proceedable, but it's about putting yourself in control of the process. Because you're about to embark on a nightmare roller coaster of uncertainty in your life, even if it goes well. And by having very good representation financially and legally for your conveyancing, you will be much better insulated from the uncertainties and the curveballs. Okay, I'll come on and explain why in a minute. But by having an independent whole of market mortgage broker that you trust, and by the way, talk to as many as you can until you find one that you trust, you will be more in control than if you end up just signing up with an in-house broker at an estate agency, because that happens to be the estate agent you inquire with and they happen to have an in-house mortgage person. Okay, so choosing a conveyancing firm, and I will do a video on this, how to choose a conveyancer. I haven't done it yet because that in itself is not that easy. But step number 3 is you need to select your own, you need to choose your own conveyancing firm. And for those of you that don't know, You need legal representation to handle the transfer of title from the person selling the house into your name. Okay, you must have a licensed conveyancer that works for a legal firm doing this. If you choose a bad one, your transaction is much more likely to fail. And at best, if you choose a bad one, it's going to be a very stressful, time-consuming, longer than it needs to be a transaction, because the actual legal side of the transaction process is fraught with difficulty, especially if you are buying a leasehold property. And that is why it makes no sense to go for a cheap conveyancer, okay? You need a really qualified, experienced specialist in the kinds of properties that you're buying. And that's why, generally speaking, I would look for local conveyancers, generally, not always, but I would avoid national call center conveyancers. You want to find one that you really believe you can trust. And most of all, that answers the phone when you call and you get to talk to the same person. That's what's really, really important. And those are the questions you should ask. When you call up and you start ringing around conveyancers, don't ask them how much, because that is not your consideration. You want to ask them, what do I need to know about a conveyancer? What do I need to know before I buy a house? Who's going to be taking care of me? Will I be talking to the same person all the time? And will I be able to reach that person? And is my transaction going to be slowed down if that person's on holiday or not? And do you guys specialize in properties in this area, or leasehold properties, that kind of stuff? All of these things. And you want to see who gives you the best answers and who you feel gives you the best customer service. And only at the end, ask them for a quote. But you don't want to be overpaying, but you do not want to be looking for a cheap conveyancer. But the reason that it's important to have a good conveyancer is twofold. Once you've found a property and had your offer accepted on it, a really good conveyancer will massively improve your chances of that transaction being successful and not being abandoned and losing your money that you shelled out. Okay? Because they're going to have to deal with other conveyancers. And you want a conveyancer that is more professional and more competent than the seller's conveyancer is, because you want your conveyancer to be in control of your transaction. They will know when to chase. They will know when what's happening on the other side is not good enough. And they will advise you, this is what we should do. They'll be more proactive. They will help you be in control of your transaction. All right, so that's step number 3. So step number 4, you've picked a broker, number 1. You've got a mortgage decision in principle, number 2. You've now got a conveyancer and you said to them, right, okay, cool, I'm going to go with you when I've got somewhere offered. Can I please tell any estate agent that I'm offering that you are my conveyancer? And they should say yes. They might want to register you. They might want to cover their initial know your client anti-money laundering requirements first. But you should have them lined up, whatever that looks like for you and for them. Have them lined up, ready to go, so that there's no delay. When you have an offer accepted, they can spring into action the first day. You haven't got to run through 2 weeks of covering of the know your client anti-money laundering transaction procedures that happen when you first sign up. Okay, it speeds the process up. So number 4 is you are now a highly proceedable buyer. You've got a mortgage in principle ready to go. You've got a mortgage broker advising you, and you've got a conveyancer ready to go as well. Okay. And so this is that you're now ready to start viewing homes. And this puts you in the top 10% of buyer inquiries. So you're much more likely to be offered viewings, and you're more likely to have your offers taken more seriously, and you're less likely to be sucked into someone else's sales pipeline where they get what they want rather than you getting what you want. All right, so you can now start making inquiries to view properties. When you initially contact an agent to view a property, it's better not to do it through the national property websites. It's better to email the agent direct or call them, because you will again be looked at as a higher quality inquiry. All right. Rightmove's own figures are that 40% of leads that come through Rightmove do not get answered by estate agents. And the lower down the price value you are, the higher that figure is. So if you're a serious buyer, it always makes sense. Leads that come through Rightmove are seen as the lowest quality buyer inquiries, all right, by estate agents. And I know this because the CRM system that I designed would automatically track the source of all the leads. Rightmove they were the last ones to get responded to. First of all, people who walk in the office. Secondly, people on the phone. Thirdly, people via their own website. Fourthly, people who are referred or involved in other transactions. And then they start answering leads from the portals. And when you do contact them to book a viewing, you should state up front, just so you know, I've already got my decision in principle, my mortgage decision in principle, and I already have a conveyancer ready to go. What that tells them is you've done your homework, you've gone out and done some of the time-consuming stuff up front, and you are ready to proceed faster than other buyers. And that, you'll be surprised how much better treatment that will get you. So you're out there viewing, and there are I've done other videos about viewings and making offers, but in a nutshell, when you go and view a property, just keep your cards close to your chest. Just remain quiet. Ask the questions you want to ask, but if you do find a property that you really love, you think this is the one, just try not to reveal it too much. There's no harm in saying, yeah, we're interested in this property. This property does meet our requirements, but don't go all gushy and, oh my God, it's our dream home. Oh my God, I can't imagine living anywhere else, because they will use that against you in the negotiations. So say that you've liked it and say, we're going to go away and sleep on it. And if we want to make an offer, we'll let you know tomorrow. Okay. And when you do make your offer, you need to follow the following rules. I'm not going to talk about price in this video. We'll have to do that in another video, but decide on your maximum comfortable asking price. I always think make one offer, not your first offer, your one and only offer, and say it's your one and only offer. And include in your offer meal proof of deposit funds. And don't worry about showing them how much money you got in your savings account. It doesn't matter. That cannot count against you in any way, okay? Because again, if you're in control, if they say, oh, you've got more money in your account, you can offer more than this. No, that money's for other things. And you don't have to reveal what other things it's for. But it shows them that, especially if you're a cash buyer, it shows them that you are ready to proceed. And if you are a mortgage buyer, it shows that you've got the deposit funds ready and you've got your mortgage in principle. And tell them also who your conveyancer is. This is my mortgage in principle, who it's from. These are my deposit funds. These are my conveyancing details. And lastly, and if you accept my offer, I will purchase the property search pack, the pack that all lenders require you to purchase so that your conveyancer can check it out before they will lend on a property. Promise that you will purchase your search pack immediately if they accept your offer. Because again, that speeds up the process massively. Okay, so excuse me, only make your offer by email. Don't do it over the phone or in person. And if the agent rings you the next day before you've made your offer and asks if you're going to offer, just say to them, yes, but we're going to do it by email. You'll see our offer in the email. Don't get into discussions about the offer over the phone. Okay, guys, I hope that helps. That's a relatively quick video. Now, if you get to the end of this video and you think, well, where do I start with a whole of market independent mortgage broker? Where do I start looking for conveyancers? And where do I get a search pack? I have got guys I've hand-picked because I trust them, that only if you can't find one, or you haven't got the time, or you're choosing to trust me, then you can talk to my guys. And you can talk to all of them without any obligation. And there's a link below, but basically my website, mhwc.co.uk, you'll find the links, right? /mortgage, /conveyancing, or /property-pack for the 3 different things, okay? My mortgage broking partners are whole of market independent partners, and I've had nothing but wonderful feedback on how good they've been for people. And my conveyancing guys at the moment, and this is hot off the press today, are getting deals done in 93 days. Okay, so from instruction to completion in 93 days of having the offer accepted, which is way, way faster than the industry average, which is around 140 days at the moment, okay? And the faster transaction happens, the better. So that's how fast they're doing it for people, my viewers, who've gone to my conveyancing partners. So far, it's early days, but that's how fast they're getting them done, which is about 2 months faster than the industry average at the moment. And the property pack, I think you'll find, go and have a look, compare the price of my property pack. It will be quite a lot less than other conveyancers are charging as well. So don't use my guys unless you really want to. But if you haven't got the time, or you don't have one locally that you can find that you can trust, I trust my guys. Go and talk to them. And I hope that's helpful, guys. I will do more videos soon about the details about how to work out your offer amount, how to offer, and